Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S is one of the more confounding game releases for the Nintendo Switch 2's launch. This mash-em-up puzzler where Puyo Puyo and Tetris combine and collide in a variety of different game modes broke onto the global scene with the original game's release for the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 in 2017. This was a localized port of the 2014 Japanese release. And that was then followed up a few years later with Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, which brought a new story mode, skill battles, and a bunch of other changes that enhanced the package further. But now, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is coming to the Switch 2 with a little sprinkling of added content for the new system. This is essentially the same game with a new Tetris doubles mode, and sadly that's something we didn't actually try out while going hands-on, but there's also support for Joy-Con 2 mouse mode, which we did. It's this mouse mode that everybody at Sega's preview event really focused on, and it is pretty simple really. As a new block appears at the top of the grid for you to drop, you move the mouse left and right, and that block swipes from side to side, while still gradually dropping down to pile upon all of the blocks that you've previously placed. Clicking with the shoulder button, you rotate the block, but then to perform a hard drop, you pull the mouse down towards you. And that is where my biggest issue lies. Time and again, pulling the mouse towards me also had me moving my hand just a little bit too far to the left or right, so that the block would also shift over a space or two, ruining my placement and plan. Not always so disastrous in Puyo Puyo as my skill level, but always a pain in Tetris to adjust. And this motion control is quite a strange input choice when the PC versions of this series also allow for mouse input but use a key press for the hard drop instead of a gesture. Now thankfully, if you want to try out the mouse mode, this is optional. Even in the default settings, you can use the analog stick, which is on the side of the Joy-Con as you're holding it in mouse mode, as a way to perform a hard drop, though I couldn't really get that quite right most of the time. Instead, I dove into the game settings to switch to other presets, which allow you to trigger that hard drop with a face button press or the shoulder buttons, depending on the layout that you choose. Why is that not the default though? I don't rightly know, but it does help to alleviate one of the biggest problems that I had with mouse inputs. Even then, I'm not entirely sure that it makes too much sense for these games for most people. Maybe there is an argument to be had for the rapid swipes, but these are games where players have to make fast, if not instant decisions, and rely on precise digital inputs not to make mistakes. So even for a frankly very run-of-the-mill kind of player like me, I imagine that I'd find that imprecision rather annoying in the long run. We will of course be spending more time with this mouse mode as the game is released on Nintendo Switch 2 and we get to go hands-on for a more formal review and write-up. However, it is also fair to say that there's some rather strong opinions out there about how this game is priced as well, since there is no upgrade path from Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 to 2S. At the very least, what we can say is that this is no more expensive than other versions of the game. So if someone buying a Nintendo Switch 2 wants a Puyo Puyo Tetris game for the first time, this will likely be the version to get. It is fair to say though that the first impressions are a bit underwhelming for what is touted as an enhanced release. But this game is still jam-packed with different ways to play and combined Puyo Puyo and Tetris together, whether it's the solo adventure mode, skill battles, a variety of multiplayer battle modes, or just playing a straight-up game of either of these puzzle game legends. We are just a few weeks away from the full release of the Switch 2 and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S alongside, and so we'll have our full judgment around about that time. For now though, I hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen, so click the like button, subscribe, the bell icon to get notifications, the usual YouTube things that you know end to end by now, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye!
Here. Spin attack. Come on. Here we go. Whoops. Here we go. Here. 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 Come on. Perfect. kick.